Okay, I've left this video really late this year, and yes, once again, I have failed to make any fucking videos this year, and I've got to win something on eBay soon, so I'm going to have to try and record this video in less than half an hour. So I'm going to try and do this video as best I can, even though it's probably going to be proper slapdash. So what I'm going to try and do here is go through the films that have come out this year month by month and comment on the ones that I've seen, and probably make a few remarks about other films that came out the same month, which I haven't seen, but whatever. So, let's start from the top in January. Okay, so fuck all seems to have come out in January, so I'm skipping it. But there was one particular film that did grab a vague amount of my interest, and that was Insidious: The Last Key. Not so much that I want to watch it, but the mere existence of this film does have me asking one question. Does anyone still give a shit about these films? Like, why is this still a thing? Like, the last one I watched was Insidious 2, way back in 2013. I didn't even know that this was still going. After the ending of part 2, I assumed there would be a third film to wrap things up. But apparently this is the fourth one, and there's even going to be a fifth film. I don't know. Maybe the story is fucking incredible and I just don't know it. However, I am guessing that they're just doing this for the money now. Anyway, on to February and March. First up on everyone's mind in February and March was, of course, Black Panther. We were beaten over the head for months by publishers and critics claiming how amazing this was going to be, and it was just a bit of a letdown. Of course, I personally knew that this kind of thing would happen, because whenever something gets hyped up the arse, I tend to avoid it, because otherwise you're just going to be disappointed. Another thing I've got to add is, fucking hell, was Black Panther this year? It feels ages ago, like it was last year or something. It was so hyped and so praised, and then after a few months, around summertime, everyone just stopped talking about it or stopped caring about it like that. The story itself was the average bad guy revenge plot, and the CGI doesn't excuse that. Oh, the graphics look fucking incredible, as they always do in a Marvel film, but graphics and action scenes don't make up for your script. Maybe I just don't get it, because I'm an evil whitey who wants to have story as well as the special effects. Again, let me reiterate, it looks fantastic on the outside, but the story, the core of it, was just below average for a Marvel film. And as such, I would give it, at best, a low 7 out of 10. Without the CGI and special effects, it's probably 5.5. Man, even Forrest Whitaker can't save this. The Death of Stalin. Apparently this was billed as a comedy. Did anybody else laugh? Because I didn't. I didn't even fucking smile once. Why has this got such rave reviews? I don't understand. I get it if it was meant to be a black comedy and not laugh out loud funny. I've got a pretty sense of dark humour myself, however, I just didn't find this funny at all. I kind of saw this as an unintentional biopic about the power vacuum after Stalin's death, or even a dramatisation on the History Channel. And Susan Granger of SSG Syndicate, who reviewed this, fucking nails my thoughts on this film. She says, "It may be savagely satirical, but it's not very funny." Couldn't have said it better myself, Susan, although I am not as generous as you, and so therefore this piece of shit is getting 5 out of 10. Tomb Raider. Okay, yeah, I'm on board with this, a new interpretation, a Lara Croft that isn't as overpowered and doesn't have all the answers. Don't get me wrong, I love the Angelina Jolie films from over 15 years ago. They're dumb fun, and they certainly weren't going to win any awards. But I think enough time has passed for a reboot. It's been long enough since the older films have gone through the rectum of general memory of the general moviegoer populace, and this film worked fine enough. It's got the adventure and the locations look fine, and yeah, it's not a great origin story, and the big evil was a fucking letdown, and the characters also need a bit more work. But I personally look at this and I see potential. They left a setup to a sequel at the end of the film, 6 out of 10. So, as long as they don't fuck up the sequel, I'm fine with this. Pacific Rim Uprising. I'm really torn on this new Pacific Rim film because I liked the faster pace of this one, but I also like the slower build-up of the previous film. But I guess everything seemed like a bigger deal in the first film. And when Mako's helicopter was crashing, and there's a slow-mo moment where they're like, no, and they try and catch the helicopter and try and save her. I assume it was meant to be like dramatic and emotional or something, but for some reason I just thought it was funny. It's less serious than the first film. The new characters are mostly likeable, although we don't spend much time with anyone else, apart from the two main characters. Also, what happened to the main dude from the first film? Now, apparently he was working on something else during the filming of this, and they filmed a flashback scene with him being killed off and explaining how and what happened, but nobody was happy with the scene, and it just raised more questions than it answered. So they just decided to leave that scene on the cutting room floor. So they just left his fate as unknown, so to speak, and that way he can return in any future films. A bit more work with the characters and maybe this would be a decent film, but as it stands, if the original Pacific Rim was 8 out of 10, then this is a 6.5. Ready Player One. Well, fucking goddamn, I really enjoyed this film, and there were so many references to different video games throughout history. I liked the characters and the whole people online aren't who they are in real life thing, and a pretty unassuming kid becomes a fucking hero online and in real life. And the big evil is, of course, a faceless corporation run by a boomer who knows nothing about pop culture and video games. And that's quite a self-aware jab at some companies, so good job. Good job, Spielberg and whoever wrote this film. And the film moves at quite a swift pace, which I appreciated, although I think a few more moments could have been spent on the only family he had being fucking blown up, but they just breezed past that in like 30 seconds. And I quite liked the clues left by the game's lonely autistic designer who had a crippling fear of making connections with others. And his final words of wisdom ended up being that reality is the only thing that really matters because it's the only thing that's truly real. And it's a sad realization that just makes you realize how addicted we are to technology as a society and how it's good to switch off and go offline every once in a while and connect with other people in person. You see, this is what I miss. Films that have a moral to the story or teach you something or make you realize a fundamental truth. What happened to studios making these types of films? Fucking 9 out of 10. In April, there was a cinematic interpretation of the video game Rampage, starring The Rock. Man, he really has been in a lot of stuff recently, but all in sort of like going nowhere films. Especially this. Who was clamouring for a film based on Rampage? Anyone? But of course, there wasn't really anything on in April because of the big film that month. Avengers Infinity War. Now, I personally saw the film in May because at the end of April I was having my eyes lasered and I couldn't go anywhere or do anything for a couple of weeks until they'd all healed up. And what did I think of the film? It's alright, isn't it? It's what the last 10 years have been building up to, right? Big ugly purple dude gets a magic glove and wipes out 50% of living creatures in the universe and actually wins. The heroes look miserable as fuck when their friends fade away, and Samuel L. Jackson almost gets a motherfucker off on screen, but is probably contractually obligated not to do so because it's a Disney film. Thanos does a bad thing to get the Soul Stone for the glove, and then Star-Lord fucks everything up and is the reason that they lose. Good job, moron. Apparently Red Skull was in this film, but I didn't know that at the time because I had to bust out of the cinema for a piss and missed a couple of minutes of the film, and so I came back and Thanos was all like, I have to do what I must, and then chucks Gamora off the cliff, and I'm like, fuck, I've just missed probably the most important scene in the entire fucking film. But most importantly, a bad guy finally won the day in a movie. 8 out of 10. In May there was Overboard. I didn't see it, but it's a gender-swapped remake of the 1987 film starring Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell, which is my sister's favourite film, incidentally. Not to be confused with my other sister, whose favourite film is The Dark Crystal. Anyway, and all I have to say to the making of this film is... why? Oh yeah, because we've recently seen how taking an old film and just gender-swapping the characters makes it so much better. Right, everybody? Deadpool 2. Okay, this had me laughing from the fucking start. It's not particularly deep or complex, and it does have several moments where politically correct terminology is used, which made me fucking cringe. So I don't know whether that's meant to be on purpose because the film is essentially one big piss take, or they genuinely meant it. I choose to believe that it was the former. Josh Brolin as Cable and Zazie Beetz as Domino were amazing. Man, if my parents called me that, I'd probably change my name. Ryan Reynolds is still funny as fuck, and the fights are awesomely choreographed as well. Also, the bit at the end where Deadpool starts time hopping to fix the timelines was brilliant as well. 8 out of 10. Solo, a Star Wars story. I didn't see it. Apparently it lost Disney a shitload of money for some reason, because they don't give a fuck what fans think or have any respect for source material. And they wonder why they're having such big losses recently. I know, it's a complete total mystery, isn't it? In June, there was Jurassic Park Fallen Kingdom. Rah, rah, die, die. This about sums it up, really. Like, seriously, 45 minutes had passed before I'd even realised. I don't even really know what to say about it, if I'm quite honest. The volcano on the island erupts, and some of the dinosaurs are evacuated, and the audience is made to feel pretty shitty for a Diplodocus that didn't make it in time. Evil businessmen are going to sell the dinosaurs. The new side characters are pretty fucking pointless and don't do much. Star-Lord and Lady in the Water kind of feel a bit like they're going through the motions for the paycheck now that they know what to expect after doing the previous film. And James Cromwell is up in this fucking film. I didn't even know that this dude was still around. All praise to the Great One. And the child actor didn't do so bad either. Why do bad guys never ever learn? The Indominus Rex in the first film was a stupid idea. And now this, the Indoraptor. It's even more of a fucking retarded idea. Stop making the ultimate killer dinosaur. They always escape. But the film gets an extra point for Star-Lord trying to roll away from lava while he's paralysed, which I found to be genuinely amusing. In July, there really was just a lot of sequels and nothing else. The first Purge, Mission Impossible 9, or whatever number Tom Cruise is on right now, and a second Mamma Mia film, because we all really needed another one. All of which I don't care about, and unsurprisingly, I didn't see. And also, there was Ant-Man and the Wasp. There isn't much to say on this one either, because it's basically like the first film, but with double the action. They're trying to get to the quantum realm to find the old scientist dude's wife, which they do, and it's basically a race against time to do everything, which I'm sure moves everything along quite quickly, but it all felt a bit hectic to me. It's still got most of the charm and humour from the first film, so I guess I'll give it 7 out of 10. The August to September period, aside from Disney's Christopher Robin at the very beginning of August, was all a bit like January, aka a total fucking wasteland when it comes to films. There were 2 or 3 low-budget films dotted about, but they didn't make much of an impact or gain that much notoriety, aside from The Meg. I mean, I saw it advertised once or twice, but I don't know of anyone who's actually seen it. And the same could be more or less said for October as well. There was Venom, but I don't know whether I should or not. I need to ask around to see if other people enjoyed it, and then if it's any good I'll rent it online. And of course there was Johnny English Strikes Again, which, after the second film sucking so much, I'll probably give this a miss. In the Christmas, November, December season, there was Bohemian Rhapsody. There was one fucking film I wanted to see at the end of the year, and I didn't find the time, and that was Bohemian Rhapsody. The forming of Queen, and the tragic story of Freddie Mercury, and the fucking amazing music. And I just know that it would have been my film of the year had I got the chance to actually see it. The rest of the films that came out I just don't care about. Fantastic Beasts 2, The Crimes of Grindelwald. Why did this and the first Fantastic Beasts film have to be made? Oh yeah, because J.K. Rowling's cocaine bucket is running dry. Bitch. Listen, your 15 minutes of fame are over, right? Get this into your fucking head. Harry Potter, your magnum opus, is finished, and no amount of lame-ass stage play sequels, films based on some random in-universe tosser that no one cares about, or being a liberal edgelord on Twitter is going to get you your previous level of popularity back. Accept it. Your time is up. Just live off the Harry Potter royalties for the rest of your life. I mean, I know I would if I had that amount of money. Ralph Breaks the Internet. Again, another film where I have to ask, why did this have to be made? The ending to the first film seemed pretty clear-cut to me. A sequel just reeks of greed. Robin Hood and Mowgli. Okay, we all know that this Jungle Book adaptation and the Disney one were being worked on in production around the same time, and that's no one's fault. The chances of 2 studios working on the same story at the same time is 1,000,000 to 1, but it's not impossible. Also, why is there yet another adaptation of Robin Hood? I mean, there are like 700 other versions. We don't need another one. Mortal Engines. This just looked stupid. The concept is cool, I'll give it that, and we all know that Hugo Weaving plays a decent bad guy. But the overall opinion of this film seems to be meh, forgettably average. Mary Poppins Returns. Yet another film I haven't seen, and still have to ask the question, why did a sequel have to be made? Oh yeah, because Disney needs to fleece a bit more cash out of your nostalgia over old films that were actually enjoyable, unlike today's mass-produced corporate trash. Aquaman. Look, I've heard that it's good, but after Justice League, I don't think I'm going to bother with this. Bumblebee. Why won't these Transformer films just fucking die? Seriously, what is it going to take? Screw you, Michael Bay. This is all your fault. So, in conclusion, wrapping things up. So, at the end of it all, the best film of the year goes to Ready Player One. But that's only as a placeholder until I've seen Bohemian Rhapsody. Worst film of the year goes to The Death of Stalin, simply because I was fucking bored and it just deserves to not exist. And finally, my favourite award, the Attention Deficit Award this year, goes to Solo, which I am not going to watch, presumably ever, because I just can't be bothered with Star Wars anymore. This franchise has given fans the middle finger repeatedly for too long, and it can just get fucked. And that's it for 2018. The end. I will try my utmost to make videos in 2019, but I'm not making any promises. Due to my work, there probably won't be a video for at least 3.5 months, so around Easter time. So hopefully I can see you then. Peace.